Major John Madden on a side road out from El Diamante, very tiny pueblo in Mexico. A couple hundred miles south of the U.S. border, South Texas, along the east coast of Mexico, Gulf of Mexico. And I'm walking down this road being quiet, continually going back to the quiet. So this is part 3 of my videos about meditation and inner quiet. And the second tape ended with the question, why this morning? Why am I being visited even as I'm talking now? Why am I being visited by this extraordinary level of quiet beyond what even I experience? As a psychotherapist influenced by Gestalt therapy, I learned that why is not a useful question most of the time, because it'll drive people up into their heads and they start to analyze and lose touch with their feelings. I've learned to translate it. When I asked that question a few minutes ago, what I really meant was, what happened? What was the combination of situations that allowed me to enter this extraordinary silence, which I'm honestly still in? Still hearing the roosters, still hearing the crickets, still watching the butterflies, still aware that I'm approaching a spot where I tend to sit and make videos or listen to videos. Not quite there. Hearing the autopista in the background, the superhighway. Why? What happened this morning? It's sure not about financial security that I'm comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I live in a camper van for 3 years. That's not a comfortable way of life. You've intentionally chosen freedom and spontaneity over comfort. And I've been traveling so far with always just a social security check, which back in Asheville, North Carolina for 16 years, I could have some relative comfort by working 26 hours a week. But I haven't had that, so I always run out of money. And I am out of money. Yesterday confronted the fact that all I had for money was to take the bus ride into Vega, the local town, back and forth today. That's all I have. 24 pesos, the equivalent of a couple of cents in the U.S. That's what I have to my name until I get my check in 12 days, on roughly the 29th. So it's sure not financial security that's making me so quiet and peaceful this morning, but I've seen that over these years, that my internal state is very little connected with my financial situation. And it's born out here in Mexico, where people are overall much poorer than in the U.S., have fewer things, and are overall dramatically happier than the average American, as far as I can tell. And this is my new spot where I like to sit here. This building I thought was abandoned, but it's actually a Pentecostal temple. Very lovely inside. I'll give you a peek. There's a slat that used to be closed, but now is open, and you can peek in. It's simple, but very sweet, and I actually want to come to church here. So that visiting churches of all varying stripes and levels of grandeur slows my mind, gets me in touch with all the sacred, all the prayers, all the love of God that has happened in those places. And here in Mexico, still a deeply spiritual land. There's a big divide these days between the traditional Catholics and really the dramatically more inspirational Holy Roller Pentecostalists. feel the Spirit in overall to me, a much more lively way. But a deeply spiritual land, and the thing I've been flagging lately is how often when I ask somebody, this is simple country people mostly, how are you? ¿Cómo está? The answer will be, muy bien, gracias a Dios. I'm good. Thank you, God. They give God the credit and the gratitude, so they practice gratitude all day long. They really mean it when they say it. It's not pro forma. No, no, no. They mean it. I find that very touching. So what happened? I put some things in order in my life. Especially, I had a kind of runaway train of romance. That's my biggest addiction, is romance. I'm an Enneagram 7. We tend not to link into one particular addiction, typically not drugs or alcohol, but creativity, work. They say an Enneagram 7 will get addicted to work if there's nothing more interesting around. And my work has tended to be really interesting. And my writing work and my videography now, incredibly gripping for me. And it's showing signs of helping more other people. But romance, I had a little runaway freight train of romance over the last couple months down here with the restaurant server, and resolved it. A couple days ago, I got it. I said, well, of course I fell in love with her. I'm in this 400-person town where nothing goes on, and romance is something I do extremely well. I tend to have really good impact on the women I get involved with. They either go on to a very major relationship or to doing wonderful things with their lives, turn their lives around. So romance is something I love to do. Loving is what I most love to do, and what humans most love to do when we're free enough to do it. So I got peaceful around that. Yeah, like, of course I did. And now I'm over it. It's clear that she's changed her mind and decided not to go anywhere with that, and that's okay. And now I can go back to God. Go back to God. And that's what I've been doing for a couple of 48 hours now. Go back to God. Back to God. Love everybody. Love everything pretty much equally. From the street dogs to the cat and the 4 children who hang out at the Israeli restaurant where I hang out, and the adults who I love a lot. And some of the neighbors and people at other tiendas down the road. Loving them a lot this morning. So I got peaceful. I pulled out of my primary addiction and all the emotional intensity that went with that. It made me peaceful and allowed me to have this experience this morning where my mind still, even as I'm talking, even as this big truck is going by, there's a huge part of me that's just observing everything, blessing everything, being one with everything. I think actually, especially when I'm getting near 10 minutes where I like to stop so I can use this video eventually on TikTok, it's a good time to stop. Thich Nhat Hanh would say, good, I think you should shut up now. He would not have said shut up, but you know, that's what he does. Thai, that's teacher in Vietnam. Thank you for all you did for me, and thank you. And then thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The church I attended for 16 years in Asheville had a big banner. I think a middle-aged mystic, or more, some Christian mystic said, the only prayer you ever said was thank you. That would be enough. So thank you to Mufafa for being such a good dog. Thank you for El Diamante for stopping me in my tracks. My first 3 months in Mexico were quite hectic and frantic and scary in many ways, overwhelmed. And El Diamante, the diamond, thank you.